Hi friends, welcome back. आ जाओ. Let's move ahead. I tell you again, if you watch this video lectures in a disciplined way, like your normal classroom, then only you'll get the benefit. Yeah, if break is of 10 minutes, please make sure you come back after 10 minutes. Same as for me. I also come back after 10 minutes. Okay, now in your first half, we just started with why did we need a global accounting standards which are applicable world over. And IFRS emerged as a global accounting standard. London-based group IASC came out with international accounting standards. They are restructured and they form IASB. And IASB came out with additional standards known as IFRS. So IFRS means not only the IFRS but also IAS, International Accounting Standards, and the interpretations related to both. Then how the countries can adopt IFRS. One is adoption process or conversions process, wherein we have a similar standards which are based on IFRS but bit modified as per our economic scenario. India has converged to IFRS and we have Ind AS which are IFRS converged standards based on IFRS, and we have made changes wherever it was required. And sir, Ind AS are applicable to whom? As of today, it's applicable to all your listed companies, unlisted companies having a net worth 250 crores or more, and their parent, their subsidiary, their associate, their joint venture. It's their parent, their subsidiary, their associate, their joint venture. Subsidiary is also our subsidiary. It applies to them as well. That's it. Let's move ahead. Banks and insurance company, it's still not applicable. RBI as well as IRDA has deferred the applicability. Coming to your questions, whether Ind AS are applicable to LLP. Whether Ind AS are applicable to LLP. Now, Ind AS are actually a part of Companies Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2015. Companies Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2015, and that doesn't apply to LLPs. LLPs ke liye we have a LLP Act 2008. The LLPs are guided by LLP Act 2008. They are not covered under Companies Act. So to LLPs, Ind AS doesn't apply. But if LLP is a subsidiary of a company which is covered, LLP is a subsidiary of a company which is covered under Ind AS. So directly LLPs are not covered. But imagine we have A Limited, which is a listed company, and they have a control over B LLP. Okay, they have a control over B LLP. Now, if I have a control over someone, that's my subsidiary. Subsidiary need not be a company. Subsidiary need not be a company. So, subsidiary is an entity over which another entity has a control. So, subsidiary is an entity over which another entity, that's parent, has a control. So A Limited has a control over B LLP. Now B LLP is not covered by Companies Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2015. So LLPs don't have to follow Ind AS. But if you are a subsidiary of a company which is covered under Ind AS, now imagine if a company is covered under Ind AS, it applies to their parent, their subsidiary, associate, joint venture. Now they just wrote their parent, their subsidiary. Okay, so over here B LLP is a subsidiary of A Limited. So over here B LLP will prepare financial as per the normal accounting standard, but when A Limited is consolidating, it will add the figures of B LLP. At that time, the figures of B LLP has to be as per Ind AS. So standalone B LLP Standalone BLLP will follow accounting standards, but they will prepare one more set of financials. Yes, B Limited will prepare one more set of financials which will be as per Ind AS, which will help A Limited for consolidation. Check it. So whether Ind AS are applicable to LLP, as such, no. As such, no. Ind AS LLP is covered by LLP Act, not under your company's accounting standard rules 2015. It doesn't apply, and such entities cannot adopt Ind AS voluntarily also. They can't have voluntarily also Ind AS. It's only for companies. But if a non-corporate entity is a subsidiary or associate of a parent, who is required to prepare CFS as per Ind AS? Okay, so BLLP is a subsidiary of an entity. BLLP is a subsidiary of A Limited. BLLP is a subsidiary of A Limited which is listed. So they have to, A Limited has to prepare consolidated financial as per Ind AS. The non-corporate entity shall. Now the word separately produce. See, underline kiya hai. Some things are only bold and some things are also underlined as well. So they shall separately produce financial information which will be as per Ind AS. So basically BLLP follows accounting standard only, but they are subsidiary of someone who has to prepare CFS. Now that A Limited has to prepare CFS as per Ind AS. So when I am getting figures of B, how to prepare consolidated? It's your figure plus your subsidiary's figure. Your figure plus your subsidiary. So when you are adding subsidiary's figure has to be as per Ind AS. So BLLP will prepare one more set of financial which will be as per Ind AS. Similar to that overseas subsidiaries. The overseas subsidiaries follow their laws. But when I have to consolidate, I need their figures. That has to be as per Ind AS. So that overseas subsidiaries also will prepare one more set of financials which will be as per Ind AS. Okay, so thus such non-corporate entities may be required to maintain dual set of accounts. They may be required to maintain dual set of accounts. Okay, but according to me, this issue needs more clarification. There should be more clarification given, like what they should do. Are they really required to maintain dual sets? What? So according to me, they will prepare accounts as per AS only. For consolidation, if the parent follows Ind AS, they need to give figures as per Ind AS. They will prepare one more set only for that consolidation. They will prepare one more set as per Ind AS to help the parent prepare financial as per Ind AS. Now see, transaction don't change whenever it is accounting as per AS or Ind AS. You did sales, you did purchases, you paid salary, you paid rent. Transaction don't change. How to record, when to record, what value to record, that will change. So transactions are changed. So don't think, sir, transaction change ho gaya. Transactions are same. How to record, when to record, what value to record, that will change under AS and Ind AS. And not everywhere, few places. Okay, so whether LLPs have to follow Ind AS? LLP themselves, no. Even if LLP ka net worth is more than 250 crores, LLP's net worth more than 250 crores, still no. Themselves, they don't have to follow Ind AS. But if their parent, if LLP is a subsidiary, their parent follows Ind AS, they have to give figures to the parent for consolidation, which has to be as per Ind AS. So they have to maintain dual set of accounts. One for AS as required by law and one as per Ind AS to help parent in consolidation. Next, whether Section 8 companies, not for profit, whether Section 8 companies are required to follow Ind AS. This was a question asked November 19 exam, CA final audit. Yeah, not in FR, audit. Auditing it was asked. The auditor of a company registered under Section 8, so that's a not-for-profit company, finds that as per the notification of Ministry of Corporate Affairs regarding applicability of Ind AS, company has prepared the financial statement for year ended 31st March 19 under Ind AS. The company has to prepare. The management is of the view that being a Section 8 company, Ind AS doesn't apply to them. Okay, the question is whether Ind AS applies to Section 8 company. Auditor says you have to prepare as per Ind AS. Management is telling, no sir, we are Section 8 company. So whether Ind AS applies to Section 8 company. Now, this is linked to your Companies Act. There's Section 129 in your Companies Act which is related to financial statement. You've done it in intermediate. It was there in auditing, it was there in law intermediate. As per Section 129, not 8, 128 is books of accounts. As per Section 129 of Companies Act, the financial statement shall comply with accounting standards given under Section 133. Okay, so the word written. Section 129 says the financial statement shall comply with accounting standards notified under Section 133. Now, so they say financial statement shall comply with accounting standards. And Section 129 does not give exemption to Section 8 companies. There's no exemption given to Section 8 companies under Section 129 nor under 133. So, companies covered under Section 8 are not exempted from the requirements of 133 and 129. 133 has given definition of accounting standards which are notified by central government. Okay, so for companies having a net worth 250 crores or more, central government has notified Companies Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2015. So companies having a net worth 250 crores or more, for them, central government has notified Companies Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2015. They have to follow Ind AS. Section 8 companies are not exempted. If Section 8 companies have a net worth 250 crores or more, they will also follow Ind AS. Just because they are Section 8, they are not exempted. The contention of management that we are Section 8 company, that's not tenable. However, auditor has to see the monetary limits. That is, net worth is 250 crores or more. So net worth 250 crores or more, and then decide whether Ind AS is applicable or not. So just because they are Section 8 companies, Ind AS is not exempted, it is still applicable to them. As per Section 129, the financial statement shall show a true and fair view of state of affairs. It shall comply with accounting standard notified under Section 133, and it shall be in a form given under Schedule 3. I hope I am clear. This is important. It has already been asked actually 2 times. Earlier also it has been asked in auditing. November 19 also it has been asked in auditing. 2 times it has been asked. In last 5 exams, 2 times. But how to write the answers? I've given a detailed answers properly, so you understand this is the way answers are to be written. Next, A Limited is an unlisted company not covered under Ind AS criteria. Okay, A Limited is unlisted, not covered under criteria. They want to apply Ind AS voluntarily for CFS only. Okay, so it's an unlisted company, not covered under applicability criteria, desires to apply Ind AS for CFS. For SFS, it wants to follow AS only. Okay, so for CFS you want to follow Ind AS voluntarily, and for SFS you want to follow AS. It means you want to follow partly AS, partly Ind AS. Not allowed. The roadmap has clearly said you cannot apply partly AS, partly Ind AS. You have to apply completely. So voluntarily you may follow full Ind AS, or you continue full AS. Continue full AS, or if you voluntarily adopt Ind AS, it's full, not part. So same standard should be followed for both SFS, CFS. So can they do that? No. Next question, question 4. Okay, I took an example, this kind of similar. Market is important. I told you all things are there in your book. Just make sure you read this properly. P Limited. They have a subsidiary A, subsidiary B, and C is the associate of P. A has two subsidiaries, not two. One, X is a subsidiary, Y is a associate of A, and B has a subsidiary Z. Out of the above structure, okay, the ultimate parent is P. P has A and B as subsidiary, C as a joint venture. A has X as a subsidiary, Y as a joint venture, and B has Z as a subsidiary. Out of above, only A Limited meets the applicability criteria of Ind AS. So A has a net worth of 250 crores or more, or A is listed. Who is fulfilling? A. Only A. Okay, now pay attention. Who fulfills the criteria? A. Ind AS is applicable to A. A fulfills. Out of above, only A meets the Ind AS criteria. A is listed, or A ka net worth 250 crores or more. Now it applies to A. Now, if it applies to you, your parent. Okay, who is A's parent? P. Your parent. Your subsidiary. Who is A's subsidiary? X. If it applies to you, your parent, P. Your subsidiary, your associate, Y. Your associate, your joint venture. Okay, ho gaya, finished. It applies to this many people. So which companies are required to follow Ind AS? Now A is listed, or A is having a net worth 250 crore or more. It applies to A. If it applies to A, your parent, P. Your subsidiary, X. Your subsidiary, X. Your associate, Y. That applies to this. Now sir, what about other subsidiaries of P? See, it applies to A Limited, A ka parent, A ka subsidiary, A's associate. What about other subsidiaries of P? Roadmap doesn't say. So other subsidiaries of basically P. Now P ka subsidiary B, unka C is associate. Whether this all apply, answer is actually no. But if this all also follows, if this all also follows Ind AS, it will be better in consolidation. Imagine P has to follow Ind AS, but uska subsidiary B doesn't follow. So now consolidation mein problem will come. So two opinions are there. Pay attention. So which of the companies are required to comply with Ind AS? Now to A it applies A ka parent P, A's subsidiary X, A's associate Y. So it is to you, your parent, your subsidiary, your associate, your joint venture. Now other subsidiaries of parent, no. That is not covered. So let's see. So if a company fulfills listing or net worth criteria, Ind AS is applicable not only to you but also its parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture. So, right, as A Limited meets the criteria, its parent, subsidiary, associate, its The word is of above. That was important. Its parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture, that is PXY, they also need to adopt Ind AS. Now, with regards to other subsidiaries, joint venture, associate of P, with regards to other subsidiary, associate, joint ventures of P, ultimate parent, P is the ultimate parent. One view is, as parent is covered, they also should follow Ind AS. One view is, now P cover ho gaya, to other subsidiaries of P should also follow Ind AS. However, second view is, the roadmap is applicable to parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture of the company which fulfills the criteria. Okay, which company fulfill criteria? Which company fulfill the listing or net worth criteria? Sir, A. Okay. So A's parent, A's subsidiary, A's associate, A's joint venture. That's it. Don't extend. The second view is, it's applicable only to them. Based on this, it's not mandatory for B Limited, C Limited, Z Limited to follow Ind AS. However, this issue, according to me, needs more clarification. Two views are available. Sir, in exam, what to do? Write like this. Same way, write like this. Mostly ICAI doesn't ask controversial questions. They try to be away from controversies nowadays. Such type of questions generally ICAI doesn't ask. It's not there in ICAI book. I've given it. Okay, so one view is ultimate parent is covered. The other subsidiaries of P, other joint venture associates of P, they should also follow Ind AS. It will help in consolidation. Second view is, go by roadmap. It's applied to you, your parent, your subsidiary, your associate, your joint venture, not other subsidiaries of parent. So in that case, they don't follow Ind AS, is fine. Two views are there. Some people follow first one, some people follow second, practically as well. Actually, issue needs more clarification. Okay. Next, if a company which is not covered under Ind AS applicability criteria, the word Ind is missing, just add it. Which is not covered under Ind AS applicability criteria, decides to apply it voluntarily. Okay, you want to apply voluntarily. ठीक है, तो question, if you apply voluntarily, whether your subsidiary, associate, joint venture also needs to apply. Okay, so you apply voluntarily, whether your subsidiary, associate, joint venture also need to follow Ind AS. Now, the word written was listed, net worth 250 crore or more, parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture of above who are covered in that too. Okay, now pay attention. Pay attention. If I go to that roadmap, clearly likha hai, listed, net worth 250 crore or more, parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture of above, those who are covered in this two category, listed and this. So if you are covered in that two category, your subsidiary, associate, joint venture, parent also has to follow. But if you apply voluntarily, your parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture may not follow Ind AS. Because roadmap clearly said, listed, net worth 250 crore or more, and parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture of above, ye do hi. You are not covered in this too. You are voluntarily applying. So your parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture are not mandatorily required to adopt Ind AS. But again, there are two views. Some people say you started, so your subsidiary, associate, joint venture should also follow. Another view is, if I go by strictly roadmap says it's parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture of those covered above. You are not covered above. So just see. One view. Since the company has decided to adopt on voluntary basis, its parent, etc. also needs to follow Ind AS. Second view is that The roadmap is applicable to parent, subsidiary, associate, joint ventures of a company which meets the listing on net worth criteria. You did not met the listing on net worth criteria. It's parent, subsidiary, associate, joint venture of above. I told you that word of above is to be interpreted. Based on this, it's not mandatory for them to follow Ind AS, but still two opinions are there. Practically also going like this. Practically no one adopts voluntarily. Yeah, practically no one adopts voluntarily, but there might be few who might have adopted. The issue needs more clarification. Let's move it. X Limited, Y Limited are companies registered in India. X and Y, companies registered in India. Net worth 600 crores, 200 crores. They are subsidiaries of foreign company AINC, which has a net worth more than 500 crore. Okay, so we have, it's kind of this. It is AINC, which has net worth, but that's foreign, not here. It's basically, say for example, US. It has two subsidiaries. It has two subsidiaries. X Limited, this is in India. Y Limited, also in India. Now, iska net worth is greater than 500 crores. Iska net worth is 600 crores. And iska net worth is 200 crores. Now, this guy is in US. Parent is in US to them. They are in US to them. Company's Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2015 don't apply. Yeah, to them, company's Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2015 don't apply. So leave them. And don't see their net worth. This net worth is of no use. This net worth is of no use. Now, subsidiaries are in India. X has a net worth 600 crores. Yes, so Ind AS applies to X. X has a net worth 600 crores. Ind AS applies to X. X को apply, X का parent, but our parent is abroad, leave them. If parent is abroad, leave them. So X applies, X का parent abroad, leave them. X का subsidiary, not there. Why is not X का subsidiary? Why is not X subsidiary? It's other subsidiary of same parent. That doesn't come. So it will be only X. Y को it will not be applicable. So whether Ind AS will be applicable, A को it will not be applicable. It's a foreign company. So X has a net worth 600 crores. It will be required to follow Ind AS. Y has a net worth 200 crores. So it will not be required to follow Ind AS. And AINC is a company not incorporated under Companies Act. The company's Indian Accounting Standard Rules does not apply. And the net worth of foreign parent is not to be seen. Foreign parent has a net worth more than 500 crore. That's not to be seen. They are abroad. To them, Companies Act doesn't apply. Leave them. We have two subsidiaries. One has net worth more than 500 crores. To them applies. Now, if it applies to B, it applies to B's parent, but parent is foreign. Leave it. B subsidiary. We don't have B subsidiary. Y is not B's subsidiary. It doesn't apply to Y. Okay, I hope this is clear. Next. X Limited is a company covered under Ind AS. Y was a subsidiary of X and hence covered under Ind AS. Y was a subsidiary of X and covered under Ind AS. In current year, okay, so Y subsidiary of X and hence covered under Ind AS. Current year, X has disposed of the holding in Y and now Y is no longer a subsidiary. Now, what is the situation? X has a subsidiary Y. Let me have it like this. If you want, you can just write these things. What I am writing, it's kind of summary. Say listed. And it has a subsidiary Y Limited. Okay, X is listed. Ind AS applies. If it applies to you, it applies to your parent, your subsidiary, your associate, your joint venture. If it applies to you, your parent, not given, your subsidiary, yeah, it applies to Y. So Y was also covered under Ind AS. Y was also covered under Ind AS, but now, this year, X has sold off the holding in Y. Y is no longer a subsidiary. Y is no longer a subsidiary. Whether still Y has to follow Ind AS. Y is no longer a subsidiary. Whether still Y has to follow Ind AS. Y was a subsidiary of X. It was following Ind AS. Now, X has sold off the holding in outside market. Now, you are not a subsidiary of X. Do you still need to follow Ind AS? Yes. Once applicable, lifetime applicable. Ind AS once applicable, lifetime applicable. Answer is yes. Once applicable, lifetime applicable. Whether Ind AS is applicable for interim financial statement. Okay, question whether it's applicable for interim. So whether Ind AS is applicable for interim financial statement, not annual, not full-fledged. Interim, say quarterly. All listed companies, I'm repeating, all listed companies are required to publish in newspaper quarterly, unaudited but reviewed financial information. So all listed companies have to publish quarterly, unaudited but reviewed financial information. This is as per clause 41 of listing agreement. The clause 41 of listing agreement says you have to publish quarterly financial information. Question. So that quarterly financial information, it's a listed company. Ind AS applies. So when you are publishing that quarterly financial information, should it also be as per Ind AS? Definitely. If Ind AS is applicable to you for quarterly financial also, it has to be Ind AS. But if Ind AS is applicable to you, so answer is yes. Once the company starts using Ind AS for annual financials, it should use the same for interim financials as well. Interim, say quarterly. I've given a note. Clause 41 of listing agreement requires listed companies to publish quarterly, unaudited but reviewed financial information. If you are covered under Ind AS, you are following Ind AS, quarterly information should also be as per Ind AS. Next, can Ind AS override statute? Can Ind AS override the statute? Answer is no. Accounting standards cannot override the statute. They are basically intended to be in conformity with the provisions of the statute. In case future may suppose law is changed. Yeah, there's a change in law and now Ind AS and law are in conflict. Suppose in future law is changed and Ind AS and law are in conflict, statute will prevail. Law will prevail, not Ind AS. So can Ind AS override statute? Answer is no. Suppose in future law is changed. Now as of today they both are in harmony. As of today, suppose both are in harmony. In future, suppose law is changed. Now Ind AS and law are different. Law will prevail, not Ind AS. But, yeah, we have done Schedule 3. Those who have attended the FR part, we have done Schedule 3. If there's a conflict between Schedule 3 and Ind AS, if there's a conflict between disclosures under Ind AS, disclosures under Schedule 3, what will happen? The Schedule 3 has clearly said, what does Schedule 3 say? I just underline. Schedule 3 of Companies Act has clarified that where compliance with requirement of Ind AS require any change in treatment or disclosure, the Ind AS requires any change in treatment or disclosure, the same shall be made and the requirement of Schedule 3 stands modified. Okay, so Schedule 3, so normally Ind AS and statute prevails. Schedule 3 is a part of statute. Ind AS and statute prevails. Schedule 3 is a part of statute. So normally we feel Schedule 3 should prevail. Normally we feel, okay, Schedule 3 is a part of statute, Schedule 3 should prevail. But Schedule 3 has clearly given. It's given in Schedule 3 only. First point. First point of Schedule 3 says, if basically requirement of Ind AS requires a different treatment or disclosure, same shall be done and Schedule 3 stands modified. So Schedule 3 will not prevail, Ind AS will prevail if there's a conflict between Ind AS and Schedule 3. Ind AS and any other thing in statute, Ind AS and any other thing in statute. Statute is not only Companies Act, so many other acts. So Ind AS and any statute, including Companies Act, except Schedule 3. So Ind AS and statute prevails. Ind AS and Schedule 3, Ind AS prevails. But now there's one line, just try to see this line written. Except for option of presenting assets and liabilities in order of liquidity. Now what is this? Except for option of presenting assets and liabilities in order of liquidity. Your balance sheet can be in order of permanence, order of liquidity. Oh, foundation mein. In CA foundation you would have done it. Order of permanence means permanent item comes first. And least permanent, like cash I have today, tomorrow it will go. So cash comes last. That's order of permanence. The order of permanence, your PPE, fixed asset, they come at top, cash comes last. Order of liquidity, cash comes first. Your PPE, fixed asset, comes last. Now, Ind AS 1 allows you to prepare a balance sheet in order of liquidity. Ind AS 1, because we have adopted or taken from IFRS mein they allow order of liquidity. You may follow order of permanence, you may follow order of liquidity. वो IFRS में था, we have copy pasted it. So Ind AS 1 allows presentation of balance, allows. You can do permanence also, you can follow liquidity also. The Ind AS 1 allows you to prepare balance sheet in order of liquidity. Schedule 3 does not have a format in order of liquidity. Schedule 3 format, non-current asset, then current asset. That's not order of liquidity. So Ind AS 1 allows order of liquidity, Schedule 3 doesn't allow. So over here, Ind AS allows, Schedule 3 doesn't allow, conflict. You'll say Ind AS prevails. Ind AS Schedule 3. Ind AS and statute prevails. Ind AS and Schedule 3, Ind AS prevails. Except for this. So where a requirement of Ind AS, except this, leave this. Except this, if requirement of Ind AS is different, Ind AS prevails. But for this, Schedule 3 will prevail. Only for this, except for option of presenting assets and liabilities in order of liquidity. So Ind AS 1 allows balance sheet to be prepared in order of liquidity. Schedule 3 format is not in the order of liquidity. So can I prepare balance sheet in order of liquidity? Ind AS 1 allows, Schedule 3 format doesn't allow. Can I follow? Answer is no. Only for this, Schedule 3 will prevail. Except for this, so only for this, Schedule 3 prevails. Any other place, if there's a conflict between Ind AS and Schedule 3, Ind AS will prevail. If there's a conflict, Ind AS prevail, except this thing. For this thing, Schedule 3 will prevail. So note is basically the explanation of this bracket. Ind AS 1 allows presentation of balance sheet in order of liquidity. Schedule 3, the format of balance sheet is not in order of liquidity. Schedule 3 ka format is not in order of liquidity. Ind AS allows, Schedule 3 may not allow. Normally, Ind AS and Schedule 3 ka conflict, Ind AS applies. But except this thing. So it is given in Schedule 3 that except this, requirement of Ind AS will prevail. Except this. So for this thing, Schedule 3 will prevail. Therefore, balance sheet has to be prepared in the format given under Schedule 3, not in the order of liquidity. Okay, done with this. Okay. If there's a conflict, Ind AS and statute prevails. Ind AS and Schedule 3? Normally Ind AS, but for one item. Can I have a balance sheet in order of liquidity? No. In that, Schedule 3 prevails. So normally Ind AS and Schedule 3 conflict. Ind AS only for one thing. Ind AS 1 allows balance sheet in order of liquidity. Schedule 3 doesn't allow. Here Schedule 3 will prevail. Next, how to compute the net worth. Okay, net worth 250 crores or more, Ind AS applies. Lots of water keeps you fresh. Warm water, more healthy. Over. Now, how do I compute the net worth? They say net worth of, first of all, which date you have to see. So first, they say phase 1 starts from 1st April 16. Phase 2, 1st April 17. So should I see net worth of 1st April 16? Kab ka dekho? So first of all, you see the net worth of 31st March 14. Which date? 31st March 14. 31st March 14, you are not crossing limit. Check net worth every year then. 31st March 14. 31st March 14, if you cross, apply as per the roadmap. 31st March 14, net worth crossed. Then apply as per the roadmap. Net worth 500 crores or more, 1416. Net worth 250 crores or more, but less than 500, 1417 say. So, first of all, net worth of 31st March 14 you see. 31st March 14, if net worth is crossing the limit, roadmap say you start as per the roadmap, 1416 or 1417. But 31st March 14 limits are not crossed. Say 31st March 14 is 200 crores. Limits not crossed. Then check the net worth every year. Then check it on 31st March 15, 31st March 16, 31st March 17. The every year net worth has to be checked. And suppose on 31st March 17 it crossed. Suppose on 31st March 17 it crossed. It becomes applicable from 1417. Next year say it becomes applicable. So whichever date, suppose 31st March 17 it crossed, so 1417 say it becomes applicable, next year say it is applicable. So check the net worth of 31st March 14. 31st March 14 limits are crossed. Apply as per the roadmap. So follow Ind AS as per roadmap. If it's not crossed on 31st March 14, 31st March 14 is say 200 crores, keep checking every year. And day when it cross, next year say Ind AS applicable. Okay, so just see. Net worth, should I see as standalone or consolidated? Standalone. So net worth, how do I compute? It's standalone financial, either as at 31st March or audited financial after that date. Every year you check. Audited financial after that date means every year for the period ending after that date. Okay. How do I compute net worth? It's your paid up capital plus reserves created out of profits. It will be all reserves created out of profits. Yeah, so P&L balance, any reserves created out of profit, like from P&L you transferred to any reserves. From P&L you transferred to any reserves. They are also reserves created out of profit. They all are included. Only revaluation reserve is not included. What is not included? Revaluation reserve. Okay, so paid up capital, all reserves created out of profit, securities premium, less your all miscellaneous expenditure, accumulated losses. So accumulated losses, deferred expenditure and miscellaneous expenditure not written off. That is fictitious assets. Simple words में fictitious assets. They are not really the assets. So something which is not yet written off, you write it off. Expenses not yet written off, they are to be deducted. The paid up capital plus all your reserves which are created out of profit, it will not include revaluation reserve. Revaluation reserve will not be included. Okay, capital reserve arising out of promoters' contribution, government grant received can be included. So capital reserves which are basically by government grant. Remember accounting standard 12. What is your AS 12? If you receive a government grant which is in nature of promoters' contribution, you receive a government grant for starting something in backward area for the overall project, not one fixed asset. Overall project, for starting something in backward area for overall project. If you are getting government grant, we credit it to capital reserve. That will also be included. What is not included? Reserves created by revaluation of asset cannot be included. Reserves created by revaluation of asset can't be included. Otherwise, all reserves will be included. Okay, the paid up capital plus all your reserves plus your securities premium less your accumulated losses, deferred expenditure, miscellaneous expenditure not written off. Now someone asked me, sir, paid up share capital will include what? Paid up share capital will include what? Equity and preference. It will be only equity. Is it equity and preference? Equity share capital plus preferential capital, only equity. Only equity. Under Ind AS, preference share capital are a liability. You have to pay it back. Remember, maximum life of preference shares can be 20 years. We cannot issue irredeemable preference shares. They are something you pay a fixed dividend to them, you pay them after certain years. That's a kind of liability. That's only equity share capital. Okay, companies which were not in existence on 31st March 14. If you're not in existence on 31st March 14 or 31st March 14 you did not fulfill net worth criteria, for them you have to keep checking every year end. The companies which do not meet the applicability criteria on 31st March 14 shall reassess. Check the applicability at each balance sheet date. Once they meet the applicability, Ind AS becomes applicable from next year onwards. So once you fulfill the criteria, it becomes applicable from next year onwards. But previous year's figure also needs to be given as per Ind AS. Remember that. Okay, for example, if a company meets the net worth requirement for first time on 31st March 20, okay, 31st March 14 you did not meet, it was 200. Then it was 210, 220, 230, 240, 245, and on 31st March 20, it crossed 250 crores. The 31st March 20 you cross, next financial year from 1/4/20, that is FY 2021. The Ind AS will be applicable from 1/4/20, that's FY 2021. Now FY 2021 Ind AS applies. Previous year 1920 figures are to be given. They also need to be as per Ind AS. So effectively your transition date will be 1/4/19. Yeah, it starts applying from 1/4/20. So 2021 is as per Ind AS. Previous year's figures 1920 you have to give as per Ind AS. So indirectly transition date will be 1/4/19. That's indirectly. Okay, question. Case ABCDEF. This is a net worth on 31st March 14. Okay, 31st March 14 net worth is given. If limits are crossed as per the road map. Okay. Listed company. Listed company. Net worth is 600 crores. Oh, phase 1. Listed net worth 600 is phase 1. So 1/4, which date? 16 onwards, correct? So 1/4/16. Unlisted 600 crore. Okay, phase 1. This is also covered in phase 1. 1416. So this is actually covered under phase 1. This is covered under also phase 1. Net worth is 500 crores or more. See, listed 300 crore. Now, phase 1 was listed having a turnover, having a net worth 500 crores or more. Phase 2, all listed. Phase 2, all listed. So this will go in phase 2, 1417. Unlisted more than 250, phase 2. Unlisted more than 250 is phase 2. Listed with 100 crore. Listed company, 100 crore turnover. All listed are covered under phase 2. So 1417. And unlisted 100 crore is not covered under Ind AS. All listed are covered irrespective of net worth. So listed, unlisted, net worth 500 crores or more, phase 1. Okay, all listed are covered in phase 2. So phase 2 में listed 300 crore, listed 100 crore, they are all covered in phase 2. Unlisted 250 crores or more. Unlisted 250 crores or more, they are covered in phase 2. Unlisted 100 crores, they are not covered. Ind AS doesn't apply to them. Answer is there. Okay, you can read it. Next, 11th question. Net worth on 31st March 14, 300 crores. Net worth on 31st March 14, 300 crores. So it's covered actually in phase 2. It's actually covered in phase 2. 31st March 14. Net worth 31st March 15 is 600 crores. Okay, 31st March 15, it's 600 crores more than 500. Okay, now first you look on 31st March 14. As per 31st March 14, it's phase 2. It should start from 1417. Okay, so as on 31st March 14, seeing net worth of 31st March 14, it doesn't fall in phase 1. But you have to keep checking every year. Next year when I check, limits crossed. If 31st March 15 limit is crossed, next year onwards, 1416 it will be applicable. Okay, so just check over here. This is a bit dicey one. Now pay attention. Net worth should be either as on 31st March 14 or audited financials for a period ending after that date. Now net worth as on 31st March 14 is 300 crores. Less than 500, it doesn't fall in phase 1. It's less than 500, it doesn't fall in phase 1. As net worth is 250 crores or more, it will fall in phase 2. It will fall in phase 2. You will have from 1st April 17. So if I just see 31st March 14, so it is 300 crores. It is not phase 1, it's phase 2. But I have to keep looking every year. Companies which do not meet criteria, companies which do not meet the Ind AS criteria on 31st March, they should reassess every year. Now in this case, we did not meet phase 1. What we did not meet? Phase 1. We should reassess every year. Once they meet, it will be applicable from next year. So we meet on 31st March 15. Phase 1 ka criteria is met. Phase 1's criteria is met on 31st March 15. Ind AS will be applicable from 1416 onwards. Yes. If next year also it was 300, if next year also it was 300, then 1417 only. If next year also it was 300, so on 31st March 15 also, if it was 300, it will be from 1417. You are in phase 2. But initially you were in phase 2. You are not covered in phase 1. The criteria of phase 1 are not met. We have to look every year. Okay, so when we looked in next year, it crossed. So whenever it crosses, next year's it applies. So 31st March 15, the criteria of phase 1 is crossed. 31st March 15, criteria of phase 1 is crossed, and now Ind AS is applicable from 1/4/16 onwards. That is phase 1 wala. You can't apply before that. You can't apply before that. Actually यहाँ पे the word has to come, not 15/16, this has to be 16/17. 31st March 15 met हो गया, next year से applicable, but next year it's not applicable to anyone. तो अब आप phase 1 में 31st March 15 you cross, so now you consider yourself as phase 1 only. Phase 1 starts from 1/4/16. Phase 1 starts from 1/4/16, that's 16/17. Now when you start from 1/4/16, you are giving 16/17 as per Ind AS. Previous year 15/16 should also be as per Ind AS. So transition date is 1/4/15. Transition date, वो effective transition date बोलते हैं. Applicability if they ask, write like this. So now you are in phase 1, you have to apply from 1/4/16. If I see 31st March wala, you were in phase 2. But then I was checking every year. When I check next year, okay, 31st March 15, more than 500. Okay, if it's more than 500, you should start applying next year. So now you are in kind of phase 1. Still phase 1 hai again. So now you should apply from 1/4/16. Again I repeat, seeing a net worth of 31st March 14, you were phase 2. So you have to apply from 1/4/17. But before that only you cross 500. So now you consider yourself in phase 1 only. Start applying from 1/4/16. Next, division 2 of schedule 3. Division 2 of schedule 3. Now sir, what is this division 2 of schedule 3? Schedule 3 of Companies Act gives the format of balance sheet P&L. And they have 3 formats actually. 3. Not balance sheet, P&L, cash flow. No. 3 formats of balance sheet, 3 formats of P&L. As of now, schedule 3. Inter mein sir, we did 1. That's fine. Schedule 3 has 3 formats of balance sheet, 3 formats of P&L. Division 1 is for those companies following accounting standards. Division 2 is for those companies following Ind AS. And Division 3 is for NBFC following Ind AS. The balance sheet format for companies following accounting standard is different, companies following Ind AS is different, and NBFC following Ind AS is different. Banks, insurance company, they are still not following Ind AS. For them, RBI, IRDA has deferred the applicability. So it's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. We have 3 formats of balance sheet, 3 formats of P&L. Schedule 3, for those who have done the FR part, is already covered in Chapter 15, Analysis of Financial Statement. The chapter is based on Schedule 3. Those who are doing Ind AS first, it will be covered later, don't worry. We'll cover Schedule 3 in detail. Actually around 4 classes, 12 hours is only Schedule 3. So FR part mein, those who have done the chapters, we have done that 12 hours of Schedule 3. For those who are not done, you will do it later, don't worry. And now comes the list of Ind AS. Now comes your list of Ind AS which are there. It's just a replica name of what is there under your IAS and IFRS. IFRS 1 to 16. IFRS 1 to 16 is Ind AS 101 to 116. The Ind AS 101 to 116 is nothing but Ind AS 101 to 116 is nothing but your IFRS 1 to 16, and your IAS International Accounting Standard IAS 1 to 41. IAS 1 to 41 is nothing but Ind AS 1 to 41. So IAS 1 to 41, we have Ind AS 1 to 41, same. IFRS 1 to 16, they had IFRS and IAS, we have only Ind AS. So we can't name Ind AS 1 to 16 because it's already given. So for IFRS, we have Ind AS 101 to 116. So IAS 1 to 41 is Ind AS 1 to 41. IFRS 1 to 16 is Ind AS 101 to 116. Now, few are not there in your syllabus. First, Ind AS 104 is not there in your syllabus. It's an industry specific insurance contract. So this is industry specific. It's not there in your syllabus. Same way, 106 is related to minerals. Again, industry specific. This is also not there in your syllabus. 104, 106. Then we don't have Ind AS 114. Ind AS 114, it's again industry specific. Companies which are covered under rate regulation. There's a rate regulation applicable from government side. Uske liye it is there. So again, this is kind of industry specific. It's not applicable to you. So we don't have (104), 106, and specific 114, and one more, Ind AS 29, financial reporting in hyperinflationary economics. Hyperinflationary, such situation is not there in India. Such situation is not there in India, so this is not applicable to you. So 4 standards are not applicable, otherwise we'll do. So 104, 106, 114, Ind AS 29. These are not applicable to you. Now if you just check the list of 1 to 41, 1 to 41 is replica of IAS 1 to 41. You will feel some missing figures. 1 to 41 means some missing figures are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 missing. Now this is replica of IAS. It will be missing in IAS also. Sir, how come? 1, 2 is there, 3, 4, 5, 6 is missing. Now IAS 3 was business combination. IAS 3 was business combination. Then IFRS 3 came, which is also on business combination. So what happened is, whenever an IFRS came for a same topic, then that related IAS was removed. If IFRS came for a same topic, related IAS was removed. So if IAS is removed, we also don't have it over here. So Ind AS 1 to 41 is IAS 1 to 41. With introduction of IFRS, some IAS were removed. The same over here, we have that numbers missing. So you will feel Ind AS 1, 2 is there, 3, 4, 5, 6 is not there. It is not there in IAS also. So IAS may 3, 4, 5, 6 not there. We also don't have 3, 4, 5, 6. So just a note is written for that. Ind AS 101 to 116 reflects IFRS 1 to 16. The Ind AS 101 to 116 is IFRS 1 to 16. Ind AS 1 to 41 reflects IAS 1 to 41. And you will notice some numbers missing under Ind AS 1 to 41 list. This is because upon introduction of IFRS on same topic, related IAS was removed. So IAS 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is not there. So we also don't have it. How can we have? So वहाँ पे 3, 4, 5, 6 is removed. We also don't have it. I hope you're clear. So IAS 1 to 41 में some missings are there. Reason, IFRS came on same topic, related IAS was removed. That's it. This was just an introduction. We understood how that global standards were required, how IFRS emerged as a global standard, and how we have Ind AS applicable in India, which are converged IFRS standard. They are converged standards based on IFRS. Bit modification has been done, and the roadmap how Ind AS is applicable to which all entities. Hope you are done. Chalo, see you tomorrow. That's all for the day. Just one sentence for you. Just one sentence for you. Yeah, I generally say some sentences which keeps you inspired, keeps me also inspired, and sometimes some experiences of mine or experiences of student. Today being a first day of Ind AS class, just telling you a very sweet and simple sentence. It says, I just now realized that harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. I just now realized that harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. If you want luck favoring you, work harder. The more you will work, automatically luck will favor you. Now you feel luck is favored, but you don't understand you did hard work. So the more hard work you put in, the more luck pakka you will be having. See you all tomorrow. Tata, bye-bye, take care.